Hello, good evening, friends. God bless you. Um, and today I wanted to share something about prayer that I found very fascinating. And this secret I just learned from the scripture. And I believe that when I will share, it will definitely bless you. I was reading First King chapter 3, where King Solomon asked God that would you give me wisdom? And it pleases God. And God gave him a wisdom and a prosperity and all kind of blessings. There was no king like Solomon ever before, or nobody was like King Solomon after him. We know about Solomon and his wisdom and his prosperity. But when he asked for wisdom, what was the reason that God grant him his desire? And you would say that God, when he asked, God answered him. And which is true. When we ask, God also gives us. But you can say that how many times, or we all of us has asked for wisdom. But when we ask wisdom, God grants our desires. But the way God was happy with Solomon, and the way God granted him wisdom, and also as a bonus, additional thing which he did not ask, God gave him. So there is a difference between our prayer and what Solomon prayed and what he received. The results are different. And I was trying to understand that what was it that God was pleased with his request. And he not only got the wisdom, but he also got the prosperity and peace and all kind of blessings. And then I turn into 1 Samuel chapter 7 and 8. And I read about the time before the king was there. First king Saul was selected. It was a time where God was a king for Israel. God was delivering them. And towards the end of chapter 7 of 1 Samuel, Bible says that there was a peace. The Israelites subdued the Philistines. Israel had got all the territories back. There was a peace in the land. And then in chapter 8, 1 Samuel chapter 8, when people asked for the king, God warned them what the kings would do. Kings would make you slave, your children slave. King will take away the best thing from you. And all those things you will read. Basically, God says that this is the king will do. And that's why I don't want to give you the king. I wanted to be a king. In another, God says that my heart is that for my people, I don't want them to be slave. I don't want somebody to take advantage of them. God's heart and God's desire was good for his people. God was warning them. Fast forward, and people said, no, we need a king. And God gave the first king Saul to Israel. Fast forward, if you come to Solomon. Now, when Solomon was praying, Solomon prayed the prayer for wisdom. But then he said very specific things. He said, Lord, I'm paraphrasing some of the scriptures. He said, Lord, this is your people. This is the people whom you love. This is the people you wanted to give peace and prosperity and everything. And how I'm just a child, how I can rule over the people that you love so much? Would you give me the wisdom? And what Solomon was doing in his prayer, he was aligning his prayer with the heart of God. He was aligning his prayer with the will of Father. He was aligning his prayer with the purpose and plan what God has for his people. And when God saw that Solomon's desire and his prayer is in alignment with my heart, my desire for my people, God grant him wisdom. And God says that I'm pleased with you and I will give you everything that you have not even asked. And we know that throughout the life of Saul, there was no peace. There was constant war. Throughout the life of David, there was constant war. But when Solomon aligned his prayer according to heart of Father, heart of God, and his plan and purpose, God gave him wisdom. And what God's desire was, or what God gave Israelites at the end of 1 Samuel chapter 7, the peace and the territory and prosperity, everything what God gave them before the first king, God restored that thing at the time of King Solomon. Now you see, when Solomon asked, it was not just he asked for wisdom and God gave him a wisdom, but it is more towards his prayer was in alignment with the heart of a father, plan and purpose of God. And when we ask, God is gracious and generous. He grants our wish. But when we check our prayers and we make sure that our prayers are in alignment with the heart of a father, when our prayers are in alignment with God's desires, when our prayers are in alignment with the will of a father, then definitely God will answer those prayers and God will give you more blessings that you and me has never asked. When I found this, I was become so humble, and I found that God is so good that he always cares for the people who don't speak for themselves. He loves people. And God, whenever we ask according to God's heart, his plan and purpose, his desires, he always blesses us, answering our prayer. And on top of that, he gives us so many other blessings that we have not asked for. I believe that God has blessed you today. Thank you.